So what is one thing that you think fans should know walking into this film that makes it different from the classic?
Well, in the original Bride of Frankenstein, the bride is in it for 2 minutes, and she doesn't speak one word.
I know that everyone is obsessed with this idea and thinks that it's like a feminist epic, but again, it's not my kind of feminism.
I've got some tragic news for you folks. I went to watch The Bride last Friday, totally regretted it, and I'll get into that as well. But guess what? It's the biggest box office failure, not just for the weekend, but for the entire year. Which means that Supergirl, which I believe is the second film coming out from WB this year, has a lot to live up to. So if I were you and if you were me, let's get into this video today. I feel like a bit of a six-shooter, if you know what I mean. Oh, I definitely know what you mean. And courtesy of Rebecca Rubin at Variety, this is one of 2 articles I'll be covering of hers today, but Disney movie Hoppers powers to $88 million globally, while The Bride flatlines with $13 million worldwide. That is not a shock, because I made a review about this film last Friday, which I unlisted yesterday because the engagement was terrible. I think my thumbnail and the headline, even though I was outlining all the feminist shit in the film, didn't do enough to gauge people's interest. Or maybe they just weren't interested. I don't know. So if you want to see that video online again, I will unlist it again. But my god, the engagement was absolutely embarrassing for me. Now, Hoppers generated 42 million overseas from 40 territories, as well as 46 million domestically, which is pretty good. So I think Pixar have something to celebrate right there. But again, I want to get to The Bride, which is, I'm going to talk to you about that in a second. Now, starring Jessie Buckley as the eponymous undead wife and Christian Bale as one of Frankenstein's own monsters, opened to $6.3 million from 69, that's an interesting number, foreign territories, as well as 7.3 million in North America. Those ticket sales were widely off from Warner Brothers' projections of 22 million overseas and 16 million to 18 million domestically. Even that wouldn't have been a great start for The Bride, considering it's armed with a staggering budget, which is around $80 to $90 million, by the way, and a marketing campaign of $65 million, which is insane already. Terrible reviews, bad audience scores. The Bride is expected to lose tens of millions in its theatrical run, snapping a winning streak for WB after hits like Sinners, Weapons, and Wuthering Heights. Is it Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca? I mean, what made those two think that this was going to be a film to champion? And again, I think Scream 7, even though that's the worst film of that entire franchise, seems to have done a little bit better than The Bride has, which is incredible. Now, the second article that I want to cover from, let's look at this one from Tim Lammers from Forbes. Here's how bad The Bride bummed at the box office in its opening weekend. And again, we know it's Maggie Gyllenhaal, who I've lost all respect for at this point, by the way. Written and directed by her. And again, Warner Brothers, here's my message to you. Maybe don't let women stand behind the camera and direct. Where's my Catherine Bigelow? Where's the next Catherine Bigelow coming up from? Nowhere to be seen. If she's out there, she's being stomped upon. That's all I'm saying. Now, despite an immense amount of talent in front of the camera, funny how they don't say behind the camera, the cast included Annette Bening, Jake Gyllenhaal, Peter Sarsgaard, and Penelope Cruz. And The Bride had a catastrophic, horribly horrific low 7.2 million in sales. Again, when I attended the IMAX last Friday, it wasn't a big turnout either, bro. Adding insult to the box office injuries suffered by The Bride, The film, according to Deadline, had an $80 million production budget with an additional $65 million spent on print and advertising costs worldwide. And again, I've got to tell you a story about this because it is pretty funny what I want to share with you. But again, Rebecca Rubin's second article that I want to cover here quite quickly. She says it was an inauspicious release date of February. Yet because you could have released it last Halloween, would it have done better? Probably not. Too much Frankenstein in too little time. Again, I have not seen the Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein on Netflix, but I'll try to watch it this weekend. I've heard it looks a bit CGI in places, looks like it's 4K gone crazy, but apart from that, it's meant to be an amazing movie. Budget gone wild. Yeah, for 90 million, you think they would keep it a little bit under wraps. Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi are mentioned here, crafting their slate at Warner Brothers, but again, I don't know who greenlit this. Again, Michael Mann wants to make Heat 2. Leonardo DiCaprio wants to be part of the cast, but Michael Mann is asking for $250 million as a budget. That's not going to work. As Don Johnson said, when Mann was great, he was on the juice. When you take him off the juice, he ain't doing anything. A press tour that forgot to sell the movie. Oh, you are joking. Apparently audiences don't want to hear how the monster was stitched together. During the promotional circuit, Maggie Gyllenhaal spent a lot of time talking about the film's tragic test screenings when she needed to be convincing the masses to buy a ticket. Yikes. Audience rejection, because apparently people have walked out of cinemas in America because they did not like this film at all. Upon reflection, having the weekend to mull things over, or mull of Kintyre if you're a fan of vintage Paul McCartney, I absolutely hate The Bride, because the reason why I went to see it last Friday, it was for one of my closest friends. He was going through a bad time, and long before we met up, he said that he wanted to watch this film at the IMAX. And again, could I have saved some money and gone somewhere else with him to watch that? Yeah, but it's the IMAX, and I thought, okay, why not? It could be a good film. But when I saw Jeremy Johns' review last week, it was too late to ask for a refund from the BFI. So that was out of the question. And also, when I sat through the film, yes, I think when you're watching it with somebody, you have a different experience. Your reactions and feelings are somewhat whatever. There was a cringe moment in the film, by the way, which I didn't talk about in my unlisted review of The Bride, which is basically, there's a scene with Peter Sarsgaard and Penelope Cruz. They're both detectives on the trail of the monster killers, played by Buckley and Bale. And she says to him, when this case is over, can you get me full credit? And he's like, well, it's not up to me, it's up to my chauvinistic male bosses. He doesn't say that, but that's the hidden subtext right there, right then. And that's the problem with this film. It keeps hammering you on the head that it's all about feminist projection. It's not, it's all about men being bad. Jessie Buckley, somebody I never heard of until Hamlet came along, or Hamnet, see, even I get that title wrong. But I think in the day and age of movies where somebody ought to captivate you, like Tom Cruise did back in the day and still does even to this day, or Brad Pitt, we need some of those guys again. You see them in the film and you think, oh, they're really, really cool. Or Sandra Bullock. I think for me, she might be the last person, the last actress that really captivated me, especially with her performances in Demolition Man and Speed. After Speed, she was the most sought after actress in Hollywood at that point. And it's not hard to see why. Are we going to get another Sandra Bullock again? I highly doubt it. When it comes to movies, I'm kind of excited for Project Hail Mary with Ryan Gosling. Remember, I mentioned him in my previous video. But according to the recent Variety review I've seen of it, they've called it very lavish but derivative. So I'm not sure if I really want to go and watch that. I probably will. Spider-Man: A Brand New Day. Very excited for that. But, you know, I could get let down. But it's a Sony/Marvel produced movie, so it might be good. Then there's Supergirl, which I believe is the second WB film coming out. It might be the third, because I believe Mortal Kombat is coming out before Supergirl. So Mortal Kombat 2 should do really well. I can't see any reason why it wouldn't, even though one member of that cast is problematic for me, but hopefully they give her less limelight in front of the camera. But Supergirl, if that doesn't do better than The Bride in its opening weekend, then there is a problem. And the only other problem I've got with the Supergirl film at the moment, the first trailer did not sell me she was Supergirl. She was more like a female version of Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy. And I'm really rooting for Millie Alcock, but I have a funny feeling that Supergirl, with James Gunn behind the camera or behind the scenes, because it's a Craig Gillespie movie, might still do interference on the film, and the film might end up being another box office dud for WB. Well, what did you think, folks? Were you surprised by my reaction today? Was I keeping it all pent up inside? Well, of course I was. But you know, I'm not in the business to hurt anybody's feelings here, but honestly, I've got to give it to you raw and unfiltered. I did not like The Bride. It was a terrible movie. I'll never ever watch it again, and if you pay me £1,000, maybe I might watch it again just to satisfy my own greed. But on that one, folks, if you were me and if I were you, I'll catch you catching me for the return of the next video.
Really, this movie is about the parts of all of us that will not fit into the box we're told we have to fit them into. No matter what your hair looks like, no matter what music you listen to, I think every single person in the world has a little bit of monster inside them. And this movie is a celebration of that part of everybody.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure?
Don't let your dreams be dreams. Dream of me. I'll make your dreams come true. Everything's possible with me.